Hi, my name is WhyBhanshu. You might know me from my video title, A Day in the Life of an IIM Bangalore Student. Well, what happens if you spend a day after a day after a day after a day all the way to a year? Well, a lot of phases emerge. Let's talk about these phases. Just a quick disclaimer, everything you see in this video are my personal views. They do not represent the firm that I work at or the institutes that I've graduated from. Phase 1, the hustle. We're in September because all the way till August has already been discussed in my previous video. Go watch that if you haven't already. The editing on that is quite shit, not gonna lie. I did not edit that video, which is why I'm gonna edit this one. Starting September, term 2 has started and we're in the full flow of placements. The first thing that you will see in this term is the shortlist coming out, which happens very early September, right after the term break. The first companies to give the shortlist are consulting companies. And within consulting, the first company to give a shortlist is McKinsey & Company, which is the oldest and the most coveted consulting firm. Following McKinsey, Bain and BCG release the shortlist, and then you have a bunch of other consulting companies coming up with the shortlist, Accenture, Kearney. Just to clear a doubt here away, in IIM Bangalore, it's not like you're specializing in one particular domain. It's not like it's an MBA in finance or it's not like it's an MBA in marketing. It's an MBA, right? You learn every single thing. And similarly, when the shortlist start coming out, you can apply to any company in any domain. And the companies also, more often than not, you will see that you are getting shortlisted across domains. All right, that's clear. And then how do you prepare for consulting? You might ask. Well, actually, consulting is a very case-driven business. Think of consultants as like doctors, but for businesses. So just like you have a problem, you would go to a doctor. If you have a physical problem, you'll go to a doctor and be like, Dr. Saab, my body's not going right, and then he'll give you some suggestions to fix things in place. Similarly, if a business has a problem, obviously not potty related, but if it could be any issue, it could be profitability, it could be a new market entry where you already have a product and you want to diversify your portfolio into something else, but you don't really know how to go about it, etc., etc. Usually the problem statements are much more nuanced, but regardless, you can always go to a consulting firm and tell them like, look, this is the kind of problem that I'm dealing with, and I would like for you to give me the solution and hopefully implement it too as well. And just like doctor, you can get a गली के बाहर वाला doctor जो तुम्हें 100 रुपए में simple सी paracetamol दे देगा. Similarly, you can go to a normal as consulting firm or you can go to a very fancy consulting firm. Irregardless. That's a word I just found out, by the way. Irregardless is a word.
Irregardless.
I'm going to use that quite a lot in this video. So, irregardless. Landing roles at top companies isn't easy. You need two things, the right skill set like problem solving and critical thinking and access to these companies. While IIMs have been known to provide both, many B schools struggle with access to top MNCs and startups. But there's one B school with over 1,200 placement partners, including giants like Bain Capital, Google, Zomato, and many more. The program is designed and taught by leaders from top firms like BCG and Uber, just to name a few, bringing with them invaluable industry connections. I'm talking about the Scalar School of Business, the partner of today's video. Their 18-month full-time PG program in management and technology offers direct learning from industry leaders, company source projects, and a mandatory 3-month internship. Plus, you get to build your own business and raise funding all while you're on campus. You might wonder, how does a new B school have such a vast placement network? The answer is, they've been in the education space for over 7 years now, where their online program have seen placement rates of 96%, median CTC of 25 lakhs, and an average CTC of upwards of 40 lakh. For their founding batch starting in early September, they're only handpicking 75 students and they have scholarships up to 100%. So if you want to get placed at top MNCs and startup, check out the link in the description and in the comment section of Scalar School of Business. Dude, recording in Rajasthan without a fan is the worst thing ever. But anyway, all for good audio. What happens going forward is you preparing for interviews, and how that happens is you have to essentially find a case partner. Both you and your partner will start taking interviews of each other. And in an interview, you will be given a problem statement. You will have some clarifying questions to ask, and pose those clarifying questions. You try to build up and try to get to the root of the problem, and following which you give suggestions as well. Right? So that's consulting. It's a very logic-driven industry where you obviously use your business acumen, but the focus is more on problem solving. Next, so after consulting, finance companies start releasing the shortlist. What are the roles that you might think finance companies may offer? Well, things like investment banking, corporate banking, markets, global consumer banking, corporate banking. I think corporate banking mein 2 baar bol gaya, but anyway. So these are the kind of roles, and you had no idea ki bhai ye kya keh raha hai. Like, how is an investment banking different from corporate banking? They're very different. But for now, let's just not digress this video too much. And in terms of the companies that come, you can expect huge banks, big banks, bulge bracket banks to come, and even the smaller ones. So just right off the beat, naming some companies will be JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, Avendus Capital, blah, blah, blah. The list can keep on going, right? So how do you prepare for finance interviews, basically? First of all, you do not wait for the shortlist to come out because that's not a good idea. Unlike consulting where the shortlist come out very early, in finance, the shortlist come out fairly late. And once the shortlist come out, the process begins right after, right? You will have a call with somebody who's a junior employee in the firm called your buddy, and then eventually the director and stuff like that, right? So the best idea is to prepare a sector religiously. That's one thing that becomes a talking point in the interview more often than not. Have a very good understanding of the Indian economy, macroeconomics specifically. More importantly, books like Breaking into Wall Street have have really helped people who have actually cracked these interviews, because they test you on your basic finance acumen. So 2 courses, accounting and corporate finance, which are term 1 and term 2 courses, they really kind of build the fundamentals for you to actually talk about things that they ask you in the interview. Right, so that's finance. Not everybody would get a consulting or a finance shortlist. There are a lot of other companies that come on the campus which very good roles. Marketing could be HUL, P&G, with roles like brand management or just e-commerce, etc. Strategy roles and founders office are also pretty common. Some good pure management roles in companies like Aditya Birla and TAS. For marketing related roles, you can probably push the prep to the later stages, because you're essentially left with the fundamental marketing frameworks that you learned in term 1 and some company specific knowledge that you need to have so as to get that edge in the interview room. So September हो गया, October हो गया, इसमें midterm तो चल ही रहा है, तो तुम्हारे subjects जो हैं वो तुम्हें prepare करने हैं religiously. The subjects that I really liked in term 2 were corporate strategy, competition and strategy is what they called it. It will give you a very good idea of how to look at industries. Very simple frameworks and very fundamental frameworks also. Things like Porter's 5 forces, very important. Resource-based view of the firm, which talks about VRIO framework. You classify a resource as valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and organized to exploit. So a basic course in strategy. Corporate finance is my favorite course of all time in all of my MBA. Gives you a very good idea and very good inroads in how finance actually works. So things like bonds, you will have stock prices, discounted cash flows, all these concepts which are very fundamental to finance are taught to you for the first time in this course. ठीक है, midterms हो गए, subjects मैंने बता दिए, main subjects. उसके अलावा कुछ MPPO types के subjects भी थे जो मुझे तो पसंद नहीं है भाई, बाकी को पता नहीं. They talk about motivation and a workplace, etc. जहाँ पैसा है वहाँ motivation है, बढ़िया सा work culture हो, मस्त काम करो. You should have visibility and ownership of your work. You will be motivated, is how I see it. As you can already tell, this phase is the hustle. You're learning so much in class and you're learning a lot after class in your prep for the sector that you're sitting. Irregardless. Now you're days away from the D-Day. So essentially the placement process in our times used to be day -1, day 0, day 1 and day 2. Now it's actually changed to cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. The principle remains the same. In the topmost cluster or in the day 0, you will have S-tier companies coming in. So again, there's some classification of companies as S+, S, A+, something like that. The most coveted companies will obviously be in your S tier, and then eventually you will have other companies allocated in different tiers. Now, one important thing, and this is the phenomenon of hot listing that happens. It's a very fancy term which I did not know, because भाई तुम्हें short list तो आगे तो hot list कैसे आएगी? It feels like Amitabh Bachchan is like hot seat वाला जो feeling नहीं आता, वैसा वाला feeling. Start करो! So hot listing का process काफी intuitive है if you think about it. So essentially if a company releases a shortlist, let's say hypothetically assume करते हैं, there's a consulting company A. That consulting company A has released a shortlist of 70 odd people. On day 0 at 8 o'clock, you will only have 13 slots allocated to a company. What that means is they can only interview 13 people simultaneously on a given time. Right? But if the shortlist is 70 odd people, that means they will have to allocate people in batches. So even amongst them, the batch that goes first is called the hotlist batch, right? Like the first 13 people that they will interview, that's the people that they're most likely to take in, because they want to see them first. Placement committee has to be a bridge between the companies and the students. So students also have to give their preferences. I want to see McKinsey first, BCG second, stuff like that, hypothetically. And the companies will also have to give them preference that I want to see WhyBhanshu first and then this person second. Notice how in the example I have put things in a certain way, but regardless, I actually did end up going to McKinsey, and that's where I did my summer internship and I got a full-time offer, so I'll be joining the firm. That was my dream company, honestly speaking. I was so happy to get the shortlist, and I gave it my all in the interview process and leading up to the interview in my preparation as well, and that really showed, and I got the offer. So really thankful for that. Now this is phase 2 called the celebration. This is the time where you enjoy the fruits of your hard work. You've worked really hard this entire 2-3 months. You've been just hustling. Post these placement, you will have the chair of the Career Development Services, CDS, open up a champagne, and there will be like a huge gathering where everybody from your batch is there. Everybody you meet is happy. Everybody's placed. Everybody has a job now. You've struggled all the way from your CAT journey to now coming to IIM Bangalore and then studying really hard. So it's a much deserved break. Everybody gets wild, parties their heart out, and the next 3-4 days. Classes are also suspended because their placement week is for 1 week, and usually placements end in 3 to 4 days. Typically that used to be the case for us, and so the next 3 days you're just chilling, honestly. But one good thing that happens in the remainder of this time is this thing called Sangram. Sangram is like a sports tournament for all South IIMs. So Bangalore, Tiruchi, Vizag, Kozhikode. Goes without saying, Bangalore is the best IIM. It's very well known, and we guys are also the best in sports. We trash everybody, honestly, like no disrespect. We won pretty convincingly is how I like to phrase it, and I had a lot of fun. Okay, so Sangram ho gaya, and Sangram ke baad interms ho gaye, and then the entire term 2 has come to an end. What a term. Moving on, you will have this 7-day ka term break. You can go to your house or you can go to a trip. Most people actually prefer to go on a trip with their friends because ऐसा time वापस नहीं मिलता है. And we went to this place called Kodaikanal. A lot of fun. क्या मजे किए हमने वहाँ पे. In that time of the term break, also one important thing happens, that is the thing called club selection. Yeah, so clubs are these small student bodies, and you really have all kinds of clubs in IIM Bangalore. You will have clubs on consulting finance and all these different domains. You also have clubs on sports. A sports council is also a club. You also have clubs for adventure like Anveshan, they do treks and stuff like that. And similarly, you basically have a club for everything. There's a club for literature, drama, etc., etc. There's also a club for filmmaking. So here's a dilemma. I firstly thought that I could actually go into a club like filmmaking, but I decided not to actually eventually in the end, because my personal opinion, and this is my philosophy, I feel like the idea of clubs from a first principle perspective is just to have people who have similar interests come together and then explore that interest. But what actually ends up happening is that these clubs have some events that they organize historically, like pehle ke saal wagere karate the. And what people who join these clubs think is that it's our duty to do these XYZ competitions, and that's what the club is. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but personally speaking, I just feel like the objective should be to exploit your interest, right? Like if I'm into filmmaking, which I am, I would want to make some videos about the campus, or just learn editing, or just like do something of my own. There's no campus tour video that this club has, for example, released, right? So I figured that there's no point wasting time in these clubs. You will just end up having more to-dos to do. Just enjoy time on your own. So I did not actually end up going in any club. That was a really good decision, honestly, because a lot of the time what people will also tell you is it's good to have a club POR on your CV. Sure, I guess, maybe, I don't know. Especially if you're a CC, I think it's a good thing, maybe, but I don't think it will be a make or break point in your CV anyway. ठीक है, तो ये मेरा पर्सनल पर्सपेक्टिव हो गया. बट बाय ऑल मीन्स इफ यू लाइक क्लब्स, गो अहेड, साइन अ क्लब. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल फाइंड गुड फ्रेंड्स एंड जस्ट हैव अ गुड टाइम. सो I guess that's a great thing. Then New Year celebration, you come back to campus 31st of night. बढ़िया सा एकदम माहौल होता है L Square पे. L Square is the place where everything happens. Diwali celebrations L Square, New Year celebrations L Square, open mic night L Square. ये word बहुत pop करेगा. ये L Square कौन सी जगह है? वही जगह है जहाँ पे वायरस ने अपने पहला लेक्चर दिया था और बोला था कि स्पेस में लोग पेन नहीं यूज कर सकते. तो एक स्पेशल पेन है जहाँ पे अमेरिकन पूछता है कि मैं पेंसिल क्यों नहीं यूज कर सकते. That shot was actually shot at L Square. Then comes Sangar, where Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, these 4 IIMs participate across sports. I would not like to use the words that we absolutely won it on the field, because there was tough competition, some really close matches in some certain sports, and the competition was really neck to neck, honestly. But irregardless, we won our Sangharsh both the years that I was in my first year and in my second year. So we're the defending champions 2 times in a row. The first time that we won it was actually in Calcutta. You're mingling with a lot of other students from different campuses, and it's a good time. It's a good place to make friends. It's a good place for nice banter as well. The point is, Bangalore is the best. B is the place to be. And I say it with a lot of confidence in my statement and a lot of love, and also small amount of bias. We're now moving. Days are nice, they're slow paced, you don't really have a lot of stress, placements ho gayi hain, and by this time the first 2 terms are also over, and you're just in a good place. You've made your friends, everything is kind of settled. Then the next thing that happens is bidding for exchange. So exchange is a very hot topic in B schools, right? This is one thing that I was really looking forward to, the opportunity to go abroad and just to travel across Europe, right? That I feel is one thing that is in everybody's bucket list. Yeah, so that's one thing you really look forward to, and the way you decide that is purely basis your GPA. Look, in IIM Bangalore, the batch size will be around 500. Now it's actually even more. And the number of partner schools are around 80 to 90. What that means is there are around 200 odd seats for people to go and have a semester abroad or have a term abroad, right? What that also means is more than half of the batch will actually not have the opportunity to go abroad. So how do you decide who gets to go and who doesn't get to go? Purely basis on your GPA. You will have your GPA from your first 2 terms being the only deciding factor. So you will get to know your institute rank, and basis your institute rank, you can bid for a particular school. There will be a portal, everything is online. 3 person bids for a school. So top schools like HEC Paris or NYU Stern, they will go to the people who have IRs under 5, for instance, or maybe under 10, maybe if somebody opts for other school. But basically the absolute top rankers of the batch, they will go for schools like this. And then you will, this is the trend that I'm speaking, by no way this is a rule. After that, you will have German B schools, because German B schools, places like Leipzig, Mannheim, WHU and Cologne. A lot of people tend to go for these places because German B schools, they do not have attendance requirements. You can be at the place and you can travel all you want. Okay, so that's the trend. My IR was around 50, so I was happy and fortunate to be in the space where I could go for German B school. I went to WHU, which is in Düsseldorf. Actually, my campus was in Wallende, which is a small town near Düsseldorf. I traveled a lot. I actually only went to very few lectures and I traveled a lot. And that one term was the best term. So bidding for exchange is done. Next you have this thing called Unmaad, which is a cultural fest. Unmaad historically has been very coveted because it's IIM Bangalore's flagship cultural fest. You will have dance competitions, music competitions, stuff like that. It is good. It is not the absolute best. And why do I say that? Because I come from IISc. We have this fest called Pravega and now Rhapsody. Both of them are absolutely amazing fest. We have big headliners like Mohit Chauhan coming in, and all these are like people you really want to go and attend, right? In Unmaad, at least in the 2 years that I was in, they weren't like huge headliners, and which is ironic because you would assume that a B school would find it easy to raise capital. It's a fest, it's a really good fest, absolute talent when it comes to participants and the competitions that happen. Maybe not so much in terms of the headliners, but irregardless, a good place to be, and probably like a place to network with more people and to just have that opportunity to organize a fest. I did participate in Unmaad in first year. From my personal experience, I found that the fest was slightly mismanaged, and for that reason, I did not decide to do it in the second year. We're really coming to the last phase of the first year. This is the phase where the second years are almost about to leave the campus. Their MBA experience is coming to an end, so everybody is very emo. A lot of events specifically designed for second years. One most important event that comes to mind is this event called Udaan, where everybody, all the hostel blocks kind of prepare a dance for themselves. And actually, anybody who wants to prepare a dance, be it friend groups, be it class groups, you can have a performance for your name, and everybody just enjoys, right? They decide a song, they have fun choreographing it, and then they have fun performing it. That's a time where you would see that everybody's genuinely just happy, honestly. And so that's Udaan. And after this, you have the end terms for the third term. That brings us to the end of term 3 and to the end of first year. Slightly unconventional video in the sense that I spoke too fast, but that was on purpose. I really wanted to keep things flowing. But irregardless, the final time I'm using this word. If you really enjoyed this video, subscribe so that I can be on your feed. I don't really know what kind of videos I'll be making forward, and not everything is going to be IIM Bangalore, don't worry. But I'm definitely going to keep on creating because that's one thing that I really enjoy. And catch you next time. Bye!